on your seat. Feelings running high, they're the best in the world.
The SportsMax Ultimate 11 one-day international team has been finalized. Today we unveil the names that made it through 2 weeks of discussions and onto the final roster. This is our final Ultimate Cricket show for this period. The T20 Ultimate debates will happen later this year, so look out for that. George is here with me. George, your quick thoughts on how the ODI discussions unfolded?
Yeah, I didn't expect, well, firstly, the only easy selection was the wicket-keeper.
No. Y'all, I was off and y'all just messed it up.
Well, that's why it was easy. It was easy to select the wicket-keeper. The all-rounder, I was surprised at how many people went for Lance Klusener because I didn't look at Klusener in that light. And, you know, which is why I keep on saying I thank Sean Corey Carter for that quote, you know, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Numbers are very persuasive in any debate. And Lance Klusener's numbers are otherworldly in many respects, except when you look at the fact that of what Lance Klusener did and what he contributed to potentially South Africa's biggest moment in ODI cricket. So I didn't look at him as seriously as I did, but some other serious panelists, well, all the panelists are serious. They made some very good arguments for Lance Klusener, and he was stronger in that all-round debate than I thought. So that was very good. But position by position, apart from the wicket-keeper, the conversations, the debate has been as robust as I would have thought, given the quality of players that we are picking from. And I really want to commend the panel for the homework that they've done. And each person on the panel, each man on the panel has brought something different. And it's been a pleasure to sit and hear the arguments back and forth as they discuss who deserves to be in the Ultimate 11.
And what I realized as well, the openers, you know, a lot of people were on the same page where the openers were concerned.
Yes, because again, the weight of numbers for the Indians, it's just fantastic. And then we had this debate about red ball batsmen versus white ball batsmen, and then red ball bowlers versus white ball bowlers. So very informed and educated perspectives, again, from the panelists. And I'm sure those at home watching would have learned a lot from the men who have spoken about the individuals that they've ultimately settled on.
Well, George, we are ready to unveil the SportsMax Ultimate ODI 11. Remember, the final 11 is made up of selections from the panel, the zone team, and of course, your votes online. And only one spinner was allowed from your specialist bowlers in the final 11. So our ultimate ODI openers, Sachin Tendulkar and Rohit Sharma. Again, you know, I feel like this debate was one of the easier ones as opposed to the others.
Yeah, it was always going to be Tendulkar plus one for most people. And then Rohit Sharma was the outstanding one. So there you go.
Good pick. Ultimate ODI batsmen, 3 to 5. Viv Richards, George, you finally was able to convince some people.
We got him in. We got him in. Look at these three players. Absolute class. Arguably the greatest of them all in ODI cricket with a bat in hand, Sir Viv Richards. Virat Kohli has been stupendous in his career to date. And A.B. de Villiers, you felt there was nothing he couldn't do, perhaps, except deliver World Cup.
Yeah, what I like about Virat too is, you know, we had the conversation about if we should include people that are still playing because they can mess up their career. But Virat is one of those that, you know, you can't just ignore. So our ultimate ODI wicket-keeper, let's move along. MS Dhoni. Well, I have some reservations with this.
Why?
Because I felt, remember, from day one I was rooting for Adam Gilchrist. Now I know Dhoni is an amazing choice, and you said it well. It's class, it's pure class for the list that we had to pick from. But I just wanted Gilchrist in. I guess it's just a personal.
Yeah, and I understand. But you see, because I know that many fans mirror your perspective, I asked the gentlemen to just delve deep into their explanation, and the consensus explanation was that glove work. Dhoni had the glove work down pat because of his experience keeping up to spinners, and then Dhoni was a finisher. Dhoni was a physicist with a batting hand. He could calculate everything down to the last millimeter, and that's why he was the outstanding choice.
Definitely. So, our ultimate ODI all-rounder, Imran Khan.
Yeah, pure leadership. Leadership, class. I mean, the fact of his leadership has been franked by the fact that he is a prime minister, democratically elected. So, you know, many people show leadership in a field of endeavor during a career, during a sports career, and they leave and they become ordinary in later life. He has gone on to become something greater and has magnified his leadership talents from the cricketing stage to the world stage. So, very good choice. All
right, our ultimate ODI bowlers, 4 of them. Wasim Akram, Joel Garner, Glenn McGrath, and Mutaya Muralitaran. George, I listened to the debate about Joel Garner, and the way you phrased the question for the panelists when you asked them, you know, if it was the last man and who you had to pick, that was a good strategy. And I was just looking on and I was rolling my eyes at home and I'm like, look at this man convince these people by asking them the question another way.
Yeah, wait, I tell you what. I don't think I managed to get the panel to do anything they didn't want to do. You know, I just lubricated the conduit for them to ease Joel Garner through. That ODI 11, did it have 2 West Indians? Sir Viv Richards and Joel Garner, the only 2 West Indians to make it. This is in contrast to the Ultimate Test 11, where there were so many there were more West Indians in it than not in it. And yeah, let's look at the voting distribution now to see what the fans online did. So, Sir Viv, Imran Khan, Joel Garner, and Glenn McGrath were the only non-consensus picks, meaning non-unanimous picks, beg your pardon. So there were 4 players who weren't unanimous picks across zone panel, expert panel, and online experts, I call them. Everybody else was a unanimous pick. So the online voters didn't go for Sir Viv, they didn't go for Imran Khan, they didn't go for Joel Garner, and the zone panel, we did not go for Glenn McGrath. All right, so in case you're wondering, we have the tail of the tape. If there's an audit that needs to be done, Mr. Producer Ricardo Chambers has all his documents in a nice file. Let's welcome today's panel to discuss the merits and, you know, possible shortfalls of this team. There was a note earlier that there was no left-hander in the batting lineup. Former West Indies fast bowler Ian Bishop joins us. International commentator Fazir Mohammed is with us. Our good friend from England, David Brooke. He'll be unhappy. There is no Englishman in the side. He tried to force in a couple or two and a couple or few, and he was not entertained. And of course, Mr. Zahir Clark, who thinks and speaks through the numbers. He's a chemist by trade, and he's a sports fan in his spare time. Seems to have a lot of spare time to crunch all those numbers. And I'm sure that he is still unhappy that Lance Klusener did not squeeze through the all-rounders wormhole. All right? So, gentlemen, good afternoon. Welcome to the discussion.
Good to be on the show once again.
Excellent. Sir Ian, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Good, good, good. Zahir, holding strong?
Yeah, man, holding strong.
Good. And what will you have to do to get an Englishman into one of these teams, David?
Well, I long gave up the ghost on that one. There's no point in flogging a dead horse if you don't mind me using that metaphor. If you can't get Ben Stokes in after that World Cup, then you may as well, you know, take your bat and go home. So I was concentrating. After that, I directed my firepower in getting rid of as many Australians as possible.
There you go. Fazir, let me start with you, Fazir, on the and give me a chance to say good afternoon to you as well. The balance of the team. When you look at this 11 from top to tail, do you see, did we, even though that wasn't a part of our mandate, did we look on a kind of balance in this team which would make it a competitive force on the field?
Well, I think overall, by the way, let me preface whatever I'm going to say by adding that I'm glad that you said that all the documents that would have verified the ODI selection, they're available for auditing, because I'd like you to send me a PDF so I can check them over again to see some of those selections that were made. But
no problem.
Be that as it may, the choice has been made. I really have no issues with the selection other than at the very top, because I would have had Adam Gilchrist opening the batting with Sachin Tendulkar and no MS Dhoni, and that would have freed up a spot for someone like a Ricky Ponting to fit in the middle order, because as some may recall, I actually had him in the team ahead of AB de Villiers. But overall, when you look at the team itself, and I know there'll be a discussion about right-handers, left-handers, and so on, I don't really see that as much of a discussion. I don't think you necessarily need to balance things right, left, and so on. A world-class player is a world-class player. And when you look at the team, I'm glad that we were able to rescue Glenn McGrath from not being in the consideration at all. So overall, I think it's pretty much the best lineup you could come up with.
Yep, right. Ian, let me hear you on the 11, the issue of balance. Are you agreeing with Fazir that there's no need to impose right-hand, left-hand batsman? A good player is just a good player?
Well, I would say in this imagined community, I would think that this team would be playing against a team that would include some of the likes of a Brian Lara, a Ross Taylor, Hashim Amla, maybe a Gordon Greenidge, and then an Ambrose, a Breckley, a Wakar. So if we imagine that they're coming up against that, it's a wonderful team to have. I don't have any complaints with Sachin or Rohit Sharma. Vivian was ahead of his time, no problem there with Virat either or AB de Villiers. I think where you could possibly look, a couple of things. It's a good fielding team as well with Viv and Virat and AB, to be quite honest with you. I would say you could get even stronger in this team by doing two things. That left-hander that you talked about is not a necessity, but you could give AB de Villiers the gloves. He averages 70 as a wicket-keeper in nearly 60 one-day internationals. 70 with gloves on. So you could improve on the team by thinking of maybe getting someone like a Michael Bevan, who has been an excellent finisher over his career. Now, his strike rate isn't maybe up there with some of the modern players, but remember when he played, if he played now, it would be even higher. What Bevan could do for you is bowl a few overs as well, because remember, I'm looking at McGrath, Garner, Murali, Wasim, Imran. So you have your 5 specialist bowlers. What happens if one of them gets injured? Sir Vivian? Sir Vivian cannot be bowling that stuff in this day and age. So I would have had, thank you Mahendra Singh Dhoni to strengthen this team. Michael Bevan in, he can bowl a few back of the arm, left arm wrist spinners for you, just in case you need it. The other option is that Lance Klusener. I picked a team on my podcast this morning. Lance Klusener was in the top 3 most effective cricketers for me in ODI cricket. So Imran could be shunted out of there because numbers-wise, Lance is probably a bit superior.
Very interesting. You know what? I was tempted to hold Ian Bishop's 11 until I got the introductory comments from the gentleman. But Mr. Producer, why not put Ian Bishop's 11 up on the screen now to compare and contrast? So this is Ian Bishop's 11. Same opening partnership, Tendulkar Rohit. Sir Viv at 3, Virat Kohli there, AB de Villiers there, MS Dhoni is there, Lance Klusener. Instead of Imran Khan, he sticks with Wasim Akram, he sticks with Joel Garner, he sticks with Glenn McGrath, but he has Saqlain Mushtaq instead of Muttiah Muralitharan. Now we want to tell you, Ian Bishop, that there was a raging debate between Saqlain Mushtaq and Muttiah Muralitharan for that spinner's role. Not even many people thought, well, looking looking at the thing for face value, would have said maybe it would have been a straight fight between Warren and Muralitharan. But when the experts attacked it, the experts that we've had on the panel day by day, they boiled it down to Saqlain Mushtaq and Muttiah Muralitharan. And in the end, not that it was a close vote, but it was with heavy hearts that some men just went for Muttiah Muralitharan based on the sheer weight of the numbers against his name. So you have Saqlain. Saqlain is a pick that several of our when you put the panel of experts together with the zone hosts, Saqlain is what would have come from several of the individuals. So 2 personal differences from the ultimate ODI 11 is the verdict on the Ian Bishop ODI 11. So it means that we're not doing too badly. David Brook, let me hear you on the issue of balance of the 11 that we've picked. And I know you'll be influenced to respond to some of what Ian said and Fazir before him.
Absolutely. Well, I think in terms of balance, any team that has Imran Khan coming in at number 7 and as your 3rd or even 4th seamer, it's got to be a pretty strong team. Now, I thought we'd seen off Lance Klusener. He's back again. We just can't give it a go. I was with you on this, George. I believe that he has to share the responsibility for what happened at Edgbaston on the semi-final of that World Cup. He has to share responsibility for that. And there were other moments as well where even Klusener couldn't get South Africa over the line. I like the Bish's team, of course. I would have liked to have seen the partnership of Wazim Akram and Waka Yunis together, because I think they were particularly effective in tandem. But it certainly wouldn't have been at the expense of Joel Garner. It might have been at the expense of Glenn McGrath. And I tried to use the argument of likability as my final straw to play, in that you want a nice harmonious dressing room, everyone gets on with one another. You might have had a problem with that. But certainly no complaints about the batting lineup there. I love the idea of de Villiers taking the gloves. I think that's a great stat from the Bish. And you can't argue with that. If de Villiers takes the glove, that does open up would have opened up another spot in that middle order, and would have made the side even stronger. So in the interest of transparency, I'm glad to see that Faz is asking for the dossier to be made public. I know that's very much in vogue at the moment in the age of the audit, to make everything transparent. I look forward to Ricardo, your producer, making those documents available as well.
Yes, he's preparing a FedEx document as we speak. Zahir, run the rule over this 11 for me and balance. And I know you're going to take a bite at the Klusener bit because you are a big Klusener fan.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big Klusener fan. But what I found interesting is that across all the teams that were submitted, we had 7 names that came up. So we can take those out from the discussion. The surprise for me was the online pick going for Brian Lara and Ambrose over Viv and Garner, which kind of hints that the online crowd was probably those persons born in the late 80s to early 90s who only saw the great Brian Lara and Ambrose in action. They probably didn't get a chance to see Viv and Garner at their very best. The other issue that I have with the team has to be the all-rounder pick. I see where across the team some persons went for Jack Callis and Imran Khan, and I can't understand how we are looking at a player like Klusener, who's the only player in ODI cricket who have played over 100 ODI games and has averaged over 40 with the bat and less than 30 with the ball, yet he has not made this ODI team as an all-rounder. And yet we are going for persons like Jack Callis and even Imran Khan with a much slower strike rate. We saw what Viv did in his time. Across the era, anybody can go at 90 odd, and we saw where Klusener went at 80 odd. If you look at the top 7 or 6 players here in terms of batsmen, all of them, with the exception of the Imran Khan or Jack Callis, on those teams were going 87 and above. So to have somebody like Callis or Imran Khan at 72 is kind of slowing down the scoring when you want somebody to keep the scoring up, and Lance Klusener would be the perfect fit for that, I believe.
But Zahir, on the Lance Klusener point, wouldn't you equate Lance Klusener to an attacking midfielder, or let's just say a forward in a football team? He scores in the league, he scores in the quarterfinals, scores in the semifinals, misses the decisive penalty in the final, goes to another competition and scores all the way up to the knockout stage, where his back pass leads to the other team going up the end and scoring, as happened with Cantona and David Ginola, causing France to miss USA 94. Isn't Lance Klusener's career defined by the moment when the pressure was at its highest and you expected him to deliver, not delivering, and that haunts him to the extent that he can't get into these teams? Here, I put that to you.
I think sometimes we revise history how we want to revise history. If we actually look at that match, Lance Klusener came in with South Africa teetering, and he brought them back, scoring 31 runs in 16 balls, and when South Africa was on the verge of losing. If you look at that whole World Cup, he, I think, won 5 Man of the Match awards, and in all of those matches, the South Africa batting let down the top order, let down the South African team, and he was the one that came in and brought them. And remember, they didn't lose that game, They actually tied the game, but some of us believe they lost the game.
But they didn't win the games, is the point.
Progressed.
They didn't win the game.
Yeah, but he was the one that brought them from the jaws of victory and gave them a
but he's not the one who brought them to the wins here.
But remember, Donald was the one that lost his head. He lost his head on the second delivery, and we saw him lost his head again.
But there was a point, Zahir, I don't want you to revise history either. There was a point made to you last week which you offered no rebuttal to, and the point was that as a senior man at the wicket, Klusener is the one who should have instructed Donald what to do, not have left Donald to his own devices to have a harebrained moment.
Yeah, but he did. He told him to run. But Donald turned his back and was looking at the ball, passing him, going on to mid-off. That's a problem.
Bish, I come back to you, Bish, because your team and those two differences. Are you saying that looking at the SportsMax 11 and MS Dhoni in the slot that he is, that taking MS Dhoni out, giving the gloves to De Villiers, and bringing Bevan into the team would make that team a stronger unit than was actually picked by the people last week?
Well, I think unbalanced because Bevan averages significantly more than Dhoni. And though Dhoni's strike rate is superior, they played in two different eras. And as I said before, who is to say that Michael Bevan would not have been up there in terms of the tempo at which he scored had he played alongside and parallel Dhoni? Who knows what his average might have been? We don't know. But my only thing is, again, I'm looking at the 5 bowlers that you have. And I want insurance, not only from Bevan as a finisher, as a left-hander, but the fact that he can also bowl a few solid overs for you. So I don't think it's a bad team necessarily with Dhoni in it. It is not, far from it. I just think on balance, you could be stronger if you have the left-hander and you can have someone giving you extra value with the ball. So if you've got Imran Khan in there, in your team, you've got leadership from Sir Vivian Richards, so you shouldn't say Dhoni has to be my leader if anyone was thinking along those lines. And the Lance Klusener thing, I think, is simply unfair. If you are going to judge Lance Klusener's entire career on one World Cup match, you disregard every other one-day international that he's played. A.B. de Villiers never got the job done for a World Cup victory trophy for South Africa either. So get him out as well.
Exactly.
I tell you what, as we go to the break, Ian Bishop, there are many in the footballing world who still define Roberto Baggio by him missing that penalty against Brazil at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena in 1994, even forgetting that he played full regulation time and extra time with a hamstring strain. It's just the way of the world. He missed the chance to help Italy win the World Cup before they did in the 2000s. We're coming back to pick up the discussion, gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We're taking a break. We're coming back. Ultimate ODI 11. It's the reveal show, and we're picking through the selections with experts who know the game. ODI 11, the combination of the zone pick, the picks from the expert panel, and the picks from our friends who have voted online. Tendulkar, Sharma, Richards, Kohli, De Villiers, Khan, Dhoni, Akram, Garner McGrath, and Muralitharan. So the difficulty with a selection like this is that great players, and make no mistake, this list was chock-filled with great players, to leave great players out and to whittle the 11 down to 11 great players, it means that you'll have to say things about great players that will make them less than great or make them appear to be less than great in the minds of others. And that's a difficulty with these selections, because you always have to take a man to task for something that in the broad context may be a minute infraction, but you have to do it nonetheless to put someone else above him. And that's where we've been talking about Lance Klusener for Zir before the break. I'm going to give you and David Brooke a chance to comment on the Klusener exclusion and, of course, the point that Ian Bishop is making about leaving out Dhoni, giving De Villiers the gloves, and freeing up space for a man like Bevan who can give you more than tidy overs with the ball if your team is in trouble. Let me hear you, Fazir.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, I think as we've said, when you're choosing a best ever among so many great players, there will be very valid arguments as to why certain players were not in. As I said, I championed the cause of Hashim Amla because he has a very impressive beard, but you all ignored me totally for that reason. But again, I take my licks and I come back fighting. But certainly, it's harsh on Lance Klusener to essentially crucify him for that one error of judgment, even if it is error, it's a partial partial contribution to the error that cost them a place in the final of the World Cup. Who knows, they might have gone to the World Cup and been hammered by Pakistan, because that's why South Africa have been known as the chokers of international cricket. You never know. We can speculate about a million different things, because Lance Klusener winning it there for South Africa, as I said, doesn't guarantee that he would have won a World Cup. We don't know. And I think that's why it's such a lively discussion. Some will say sometimes it's a pretty futile discussion, because you could always find the merits of every single individual whose cause you will champion. I championed Andy Roberts. I didn't want to say it openly, but he's my favorite cricketer in the whole wide world. So I was championing him to the very end. But again, I was shunted aside. I didn't pick up my marbles and go home. I took my licks like a man. So it's all part of the battle.
David.
Well, I share Fazia's pain, I should say, in some certain exclusions. You know, one thinks about Brian Lara, one thinks about Waka Yunus not making it. Yeah, I mean, look, if I was organising a tribute evening to Lance Klusener, I know who I would book. I'd book Zahir and Ian Bishop straight away. They do him proud. But in an ultimate ODI side, people that you pay money to watch, this is the ultimate ODI side. Lance Klusener, he doesn't do it for me. I just the stats will say one thing, and Zahir has mastered the stats on Klusener, but he just doesn't go that extra notch into the realm of greatness that I think every other player on this list can claim the mark of greatness. I would not put Lance Klusener into that category.
You agree with that, Ian Bishop?
It's a point to ponder on. Because I wasn't aware we were picking star power. I thought we were going for what gave you the best collective 11. So Brooksy, I will allow you to have your point, but I cannot agree with you there, because of this, Lance Klusener almost defined and changed the way finishers played the end of the innings during his tenure. The story is, and the experience is, that he decided one day he was going to be the best finisher that he could be, and he practiced hitting low full tosses as far and as hard as humanly possible. So now we talk about Yorkers not having the same impact in the modern game as they did perhaps when I was playing and before. And I think a large part of that is in tandem to Lance Klusener, who changed the way Yorkers were hit to all parts of the ground. So in the eyes of some, he may not have the pulling power of the current Pakistan Prime Minister, but I would go just on the cricketing skill and the way this man, history will remember Lance Klusener fondly for the way he changed batting at the end of the inning.
Gentlemen, this discussion is too serious to brand it as make-believe, but as Bish said in his opening comments, you know, we're talking about an imaginary situation here. So let me ask you this, Zahir, with that as the basis for this question. Are we saying, or are you saying, that if you sift through the rest of the men that we've passed over, that we've left out of the ultimate ODI 11, put 10 of the best together, give them Lance Klusener as their all-rounder, that it would be stronger than this ultimate ODI 11, Zahir?
Yes, Lance Klusener is going to be making a big difference for them, and I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to give you some points. When you look at Lance Klusener's World Cup career, he has the highest batting average of any batsman that has played 10 or more matches in World Cup. He also is ranked also in the top 10 as well in bowling average. Just think of that. He's the only player to feature both in the top 10 in the batting average, where's number one, and when you look at the bowling average, those that have bowled 10 or more innings in World Cup, he's also in the top 10. So he is the ultimate all-rounder that you have, and he's the one that can change matches for you. Just like Bevan, just like Dhoni, he was an excellent finisher as well, where we saw in chases, he was completing chases for South Africa, with them winning 70% of those innings where he was not out. So Lance Klusener is a difference maker. 22 average. Think about that average in the World Cup. 22. Several wicket hauls. If you look at even the number of wickets that he took per innings, it was much higher than Khalid. list, much higher than even Imran Khan when you look at certain metrics. So for me, he was the ultimate all-round, and someone who could bat anywhere from number 2 down, where he has made centuries all the way from 2 down to 7. Well, centuries and half centuries from 2 down to 7 for that South African team.
All right. David Brooke, who captains this team?
I think you got it in one, Georgia. If a man can lead his country as Prime Minister, what other demonstration of leadership qualities are you looking for? I mean, what other player in this team would be capable of taking on the presidency of their country? You have to give it to Imran Khan.
Ian Bishop.
Well, is my team the one that I'm choosing the captain from, or am I choosing the captain from the team that SportsMax have presented? I need to know what the caveat is here first.
All right, Ian, you're a scholar and a gentleman. Give me the captain of your team you've selected, and give me a captain for the SportsMax team as well.
I'm giving it to Sir Vivian. Sir Vivian walks into this team, and if I have to give it to the SportsMax team that's sitting there, yeah, I'd probably give it to Imran Khan. That's your team. I'm going with Imran on your team. So, David, you got me back there.
All right. Fazir?
Thank you, Ian.
If we were to go with the analogy of prime ministerial office with cricket experience is the ultimate choice. Well, Dr. Keith Mitchell, the former Grenada wicket-keeper batsman, should be in this side, but then he didn't play any World Cup cricket, so too bad for the man from the Spice Isle. But I'd actually give Mahendra Singh Dhoni the captaincy, because I think from the moment he came into the international setting, you looked at him as a bit of a ball beater, and then he was made captain of India for the 2007 World T20, and then we saw what obviously India's selectors knew, that here was a man who had that wild look about him, but was absolutely brilliant as a leader, who yes, with all that finishing ability and knowledge and so on, great, but I've hardly seen as many cricketers as Mahendra Singh Dhoni look so cool and calm and unflustered in a pressure situation, invariably bringing the match home either with his bat or with his tactics. Dhoni would be my captain.
Zahir, you have the final word.
Well, for me, I'm going to go with MS Dhoni, and the reason for this, if we look in the modern game across the white ball sports, T20 cricket and ODI cricket, for me, MS Dhoni has been the master tactician in the sport. If you see how he, in a team of large egos, if you look at some of his teams that he had in like the IPL, even in the Indian team with Sachin Tendulkar, Rahul Dravid, the Anil Kumblis, and all the different persons, he was able to get that team to perform at their best. And he, like Imran Khan, are the only two here that have actually won a World Cup as captain. And who can forget that special knock from him? I think it was 92 in that final, carrying his team home to victory.
All right, gentlemen, we're out of time, but I just bought a minute and a half from my producer to ask this. And I'm starting with you, Ian Bishop. Does a player like Imran Khan, who made his name, who concretized his name and his exploits as a leader of men, do you think his career would have trended differently had he not had that burden of leadership, which perhaps that burden is what pushed him to always seek to deliver at the heights he did? Does it make a difference to a player, you think, if they're stripped of the captaincy and they're just there to bat or bowl and to take care of themselves?
No, I played against Imran at the back end of his career, and there was always a sense of royalty about the way he carried himself on the field. And I believe that, judging personality, Imran was one who thrived under leadership. He grew taller the more leadership that was cast upon him, and we can see it now in his post-playing career. So he's not one that would shrink or would have shrunk. He brought a very talented team together. I think he would have trended even better, perhaps.
Same question for you, David Brooke. Would Imran have been the same had he not been the leader that he was in his playing career?
Well, I bow to what Ian has said, and Ian's played against him with him. I think he would have, captaincy brought out the best in him. We've seen captains go one of two ways. Ian Botham being the most spectacular example of someone who went completely the other way when given the captaincy. Andrew Flintoff, to name another England player that didn't make this team. I could go on. Also, when given the captaincy, it was a disaster. Imran Khan, had that regal countenance, but I think he also had the ability to relate to care for the whole of the team. And I think you've seen that interesting blend of leadership and that care, that humanity of Imran Khan that shines through. So he is a very special person. I think, the cricket world should be very proud, I think, that you have someone who's his leadership credentials have come through to lead a whole country. And Imran Khan, the captaincy elevated him even further, I think.
Yeah, I have to give everybody a right of responses. Fazir, does the leadership curb any youthful carelessness, any desire to say, I'm just going to go there, whatever happens, happens? Does the leadership do that? Is Imran the same without the leadership that was thrust upon him in his playing days?
Just to paraphrase what everyone else has said so far, I think Imran was born to lead. If you look at his upbringing, the way Pakistan society is structured, he was always with that aloof, nose high up in the air sort of attitude, which you needed in the environment of Pakistan. And in all seriousness, you needed someone who would read the Riot Act with an air of authority, and he did that. And I think essentially, to quote David his comment, it brought the best out of him, no doubt whatsoever.
Is that here?
Yeah, not even though we're looking here at the ODI game, if you look even at the Test game, for Imran Khan, he was special. Bringing that young Pakistani side after the likes of Zaire Abbas, my namesake, and others left in the mid-80s, carrying that side up and carrying them to challenge even the West Indies in the Test game, and also to go on and win the ODI World Cup in 1992. He did an exceptional job, and to see him grow, because if you look at the latter part of his career, even in Test cricket, he was averaging over 50 for the last half of his career, which was a very special thing with the ball, with the bat, while also averaging almost 21, 22 with the ball. Excellent.
Gentlemen, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me. The way Imran carries himself reminds me, David, of a story, I think it was Flintoff told, of when Saurav Ganguly came to English county cricket and how he carried himself as if he was a prince from Madras, freshly touching down in London, and wanted his minions to carry his bat and his bags and his shoes and everything else because royalty was in town. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for sharing with us, and all the best. All right, Mariah. Ultimate ODI 11, we're out of time.
Viv would have been my captain. I didn't get to jump in because I wanted to give them the opportunity, but Viv would have been my captain because there's something about Caribbean people, and I'm saying that because, we have heart, and when it comes down to that, to cricket, you need heart and belly. So Viv would have been my captain.
All right, so the panelists from the Test Ultimate 11 and the ODI 11, thank you very much. You've been the reason why this series has been, or these two series have been successful. The Ultimate T20 11 will crop up sometime around about when the CPL will start. We're going to keep that one in the bag for you, and we have more Ultimate selections coming up on SportsMax. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for participating and making this a success. We take a break.